If you want an affordable exhaust with great sound, tolerable volume, and excellent build quality at an affordable price for your 2016 to 2023 3.5-liter powered Tacoma, then the Flowmaster Signature Series dual side exit exhaust is your system. On our loudness meter, we're going to give this one a 3 out of 5. This one doesn't go overboard on volume and instead accentuates the good sounds that the truck already produces. So that means you'll be able to enjoy this one every day, and it also won't get your neighbors worked up. Flowmaster may have just cracked the code when it comes to exhaust for the 3.5 Tacomas. The Signature Series is a bit of a return to form for the company, and I think they really knocked this one out of the park. As you heard from the clips, the Signature Series gives the 3.5-liter 2GR V6 a deeper tone than stock, but it doesn't crank up the volume too terribly much. You get a deep characterful rumble down at low revs and at idle, and as the revs climb, the sound changes to something more like a race car howl, and personally, I'm a big fan of that. That sound is thanks to the Signature Series muffler, which is a new addition to Flowmaster's lineup. Now this is described as a straight-through muffler, and as you can see in here, there is, however, still some baffling inside here. Now the straight-through design is going to help the exhaust gases flow better, so you may end up with more power and better response, but it's not going to be overly loud. And I will add my disclaimer here as always, we are not dyno testing this exhaust, but don't expect huge gains from bolting this on by itself. But you will get an overall more fun and pleasant driving experience. Now that muffler also means that you're going to have more sound inside of the cabin as well, but again, not over the top. Just like outside, you'll hear a nice low thrum as you cruise along and more race car inspired wail as you rev it out, but it's more than tolerable for carrying passengers or long road trips. Now this setup in particular is a dual side exit with the tips exiting out behind the rear tires on each side. The piping is capped off with these black chrome tips as well, so it adds a nice visual update. Now having the exhaust exit like this means you get a bit more sound as the piping ends up closer to your ear since you have a pipe on the driver's side, and it's also going to keep exhaust gases from blowing directly on your trailer if you're towing, since they are exiting out the side of the truck. Construction might just be the best feature here though. The entire system is made from T304 mandrel bent stainless steel, so it's very resistant to rust and corrosion, and it's about the best you can get material wise. It's 2.5 inches in diameter all the way through, with the piping splitting in the muffler to head out the back. The tips are 3.5 inch T304 stainless with a PVD coating over top for that cool look and some extra protection. Flowmaster also makes this exhaust right here in the USA, and they are all TIG welded by hand, and you can tell someone took care to make this right. The welds look really good. The piping is also all fully brushed to remove any imperfections caused by the manufacturing process, leaving you with an exhaust that looks as good as it sounds. Pricing comes in at just about $1,000. Now that's not what you would call cheap, but it's a really good price for the material and the build quality you're getting here, and it's significantly less than some other comparable systems. So if you want a high quality exhaust that sounds great and won't leave you with a headache, save your pennies and grab one of these. Install is going to get your typical 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and expect the job to take you around 2 hours to complete. This is a bolt-on setup that will utilize all of your factory exhaust hanger locations, and the hanger for the driver's side rear over axle pipe is also a bolt-on one, so you don't need to make any permanent modifications to your truck. So that makes this a pretty straightforward job that you can definitely tackle at home. We're also going to walk you through the installation process step by step, so for that, let's head on out to the shop.
Tools required for this install include an impact gun, a ratchet, an exhaust hanger remover tool, 14mm wrench, an extension, 14 and 15mm sockets, and a 14mm swivel socket. What's up guys? Today we're installing an exhaust on our Tacoma, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is come right in front of our muffler. We've got one hanger that we're going to pop off with a exhaust hanger remover tool, and then we'll take a 14mm swivel socket to remove the 2 bolts in our flange. Next, I'm going to come back to the tip and remove our hanger right before it. Now, the 2 hangers behind the muffler we're going to get last, because when you disconnect one of those, the whole exhaust likes to swing down at you. So I'm going to grab a buddy before I pull those off. So now I've got my buddy here supporting the exhaust so it doesn't swing down on me. And I'm just going to undo these last 2 hangers. And now we can pull this towards the front of the car and remove it. Now before we begin installing our exhaust, we are converting this from a single exit on the passenger side to a dual exit on both sides. So we are going to have to add a hanger to the driver's side. So we're at the driver's side rear. We're about 8 inches behind our upper shock mount. We've got this hole in the frame. So I'm going to take the bolt that's included in the kit and push that down through that hole. And then I can grab my hanger and my isolator. This is the orientation that this is going to be going in. So slide that onto that bolt and then slide a lock washer on there and then thread a nut on. And then you're just going to want to snug up that nut by hand, and then we can hit it with a 14mm socket to fully tighten it down. Make sure this is straight. So now go in with your 14mm socket and snug that nut up. So now we can move on to installing our exhaust. We're going to start at our front pipe. Now if your exhaust gasket looks as crusty and used as this one, I would definitely recommend replacing that before you start installing. And then we can just raise this up into place and thread our factory bolts into our flange. Then grab your 14mm swivel socket, straighten out your pipe, and tighten those down. I like to go back and forth just to evenly tighten down my flange. So now you're either going to be installing an extension pipe here or a muffler. If you have the double cab with the long bed, then you're going to be using an extension pipe here. Now we have the double cab with the short bed, so we're just going to be installing our muffler next. Now you want to find the clamp with the hanger. That's going to be going into this isolator up here. So just go ahead and slide that onto your muffler inlet. And then raise your muffler up. Try to get it into that isolator and your front pipe together, and then straighten out your muffler. I'm gonna leave this clamp loose for right now until we get everything else fit, so we know where we need to have it rotated. Next we can start installing our over axle pipes. So I'm gonna take a couple clamps and slide those over the muffler outlet. Now you can take your passenger side over axle pipe, slide that over, get it into that isolator above the muffler. Raise your muffler up to connect it. Get it into your back isolator as well. So now we're just gonna do that same thing with our passenger side over axle pipe. Line it up with your muffler and raise it up into that isolator. Next, we're gonna get our driver's side tailpipe in. I'm actually gonna have to loosen up this hanger a little bit just to pivot it so that I can get our rod into it. So just take that 14mm socket and loosen it up so that you're able to rotate it. Now take your driver's side tailpipe, slide a clamp onto one edge, get that rod up into that isolator, and then connect it to your over axle pipe. So now once you have those pipes connected, come back to your hanger, straighten it out, and take your 14mm socket to tighten that back down. Now we can go back and start tightening down our clamps. So I'm going to start on our muffler inlet with a 15mm socket. And then we'll come over to our muffler outlet and get our 2 clamps there. So make sure you like the orientation of your tailpipes, and then you can tighten these down. I'm going to get them both snugged up first before I crank on them. I'm just going to make sure I like my angle. You can pull on this hanger to adjust the angle, and then 15mm socket to fully tighten it. Same thing on the other side, adjust your angle how you like it. Now go to the crossover pipe for the driver's side, slide that clamp into place and tighten it down. Now last thing you need to do is install the tips. Slide those on and adjust it to have as much poke or as little poke as you'd like. Looking pretty flush with the body line there, so I'm gonna leave it right there and take a 14mm socket and wrench and tighten this down. Just give it a nice tug and make sure it's not going anywhere, and do the same thing on the other side. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Flowmaster Signature Series dual exhaust system with black chrome tips, side exit for your 2016 to 23 3.5 liter Tacoma. Thank you for watching, and for all things Tacoma, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.